Good morning, y'all. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to those of you guys that are tuning in. I pray that everybody is doing well on this beautiful Wednesday morning. We are, what's today? Today is the 4th, I want to say. Yeah, today is the 4th. We are on the 4th day of this month, and so in the comments, go ahead and let me know how has your June been so far. As always, as y'all are coming in, tell God thank you. And tell me one thing that you are grateful for. If you're catching this thing on the replay, go ahead and type in the word replay. I will say that today I'm grateful for peace. I'm grateful for God always having a master plan. And so that is where I am today as far as what I'm grateful for. I could really go on and on and on, but at this moment, those would be the things that I am the most appreciative of at this moment. And so again, as you guys are coming in, go ahead and let us know what you're grateful for. Tell God thank you. And please be sure that you guys are hitting that thumbs up button. It is a sunny and it is a hot day in Mississippi. And I told God I have just been honestly learning how to take my time. As you guys can see by this morning's topic, that the topic is called trusting God's plan. I feel like I have been in a season where God has really been dealing with me about how trusting his plan doesn't always mean that I get what I want when I want, but it means that I always get what I need when I need it. I'm gonna say that again because I feel like that is for somebody. I feel like, and I'm gonna get me some coffee really quickly, but I feel like I am in a season where, trusting God's plan means I don't always get what I want when I want it, but I will always get what I need when I need it. I'm gonna just let that sink in while I take me a sip of my coffee today. Prayerfully my allergies don't start acting up. So today, as I was just thinking about that phrase, like trusting God's plan, like when I looked at like my entire life, because that's one thing that God has been dealing with me about is just trusting his plan and finding peace, in waiting for his plan to materialize in my life. And I feel like that's one of the most difficult things to do because we are human, we have emotions, we deal with trauma, and there are just so many things that we wrestle with every on top of the things that the devil does to really pull us away from God. And so this morning I woke up and he just led me to just thinking about like previous moments, previous seasons of my life and how trusting him didn't always mean that he did what I wanted him to do when I wanted him to do it. But like when I looked at like those situations and those seasons, like I'm looking at those seasons, I'm looking at some of the things that I'm going through. And the common denominator in all of those moments was that God always did what needed. So I feel like, there may be some of you guys that are watching this that may be in a place where you're waiting on God, waiting and stressing, or those of you guys that think that faith means you get what you want when you don't. Say this, whenever you get to a place where your mindset is, God meeting a certain expectation, the process will humble you. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna say that again. Whenever you get to a place where you are basing your faith off of a certain outcome or basing your belief in God off of God doing a certain thing in your life, the process will always humble you because God will always put you in a place to where you know that how you want it to happen, it is not going to happen. And I feel like I've gone through several moments of in several different seasons of the process having to trust God's plan, looking like he just destroys any chance of my plan working. But when you really like think about the Bible, it tells us, no eyes have seen, no ears have heard, nor has it entered into like the hearts of man what God longs to do. And I feel like it's so very prevalent when we're talking about some of the things that we're waiting to see God do or, believing God to do it. I'm gonna just say that doesn't mean that God's not in it. Yeah. Even Jesus suffered. But even in Jesus' suffering, God had a plan. I feel like sometimes we need that reminder because a lot of us have had rough lives. We've dealt with rough situation after rough situation, and it's so easy to get to a mindset or a headspace that says, I don't deserve to go through anything else rough, or we feel that it's unfair that we're suffering or having to endure certain things. But just because you're suffering does not mean that the Lord is not, that he's not in it. Hold on one second. Let me remove this person. Um, Hold on one second, y'all. There we go. And so that's kind of like been where I've been in a nutshell. It's just embracing the fact that there will be some seasons of our lives that, we will suffer, but even in the suffering, we have to muster up the courage and muster up the strength to like trust that by the end of the suffering that God not only has a plan for us for it, but that it leads us to something that's greater. And it's like when I look at like all of the many different seasons of my life, the seasons where I really suffered, the seasons where I suffered a little bit. And if I can just be real, for every major thing that like I was believing God for, there was a period of suffering that went with it. And I'm gonna just say this, the suffering was tied to my own expectations not being met. I'm gonna say that again. The suffering was tied to my own needs not being met. The suffering, part of it was the situation in itself, but a lot of the suffering was because I wasn't operating from a place of gratitude. I didn't want to see God's perspective, and a lot of it had to do with I expected things to be different, and I'm suffering because I'm trying to force a certain outcome or force God to move a certain way or whatever the case may be. It's kind of like, I was the one creating that friction and the devil just maximized off of it. I'm going to say that again. Sometimes we are the ones that are creating the friction, and the devil is just the one that is maximizing off of us resisting what God is doing, whether it's something that hurts, whether it's something that's uncomfortable, whether it's something that or a direction that we really don't want to go in. And so it's like hindsight is 2020. And so this morning, like as I like walked out, and I just kind of got a glimpse, listen to the birds chirp. It was too hot for me to be out there today. But as I was like standing out there and just letting my dogs like walk, go outside, the Lord just began to deal with me about trusting his plan and trusting that, his plan includes perfect timing. Yeah. I'm going to say that again. Trusting his plan and trusting that his plan includes perfect timing. And a lot of times perfect timing looks like just in the nick of time God did it. A lot of times perfect timing looks like, God did it right before it was about to get out of hand. He did it right before the circumstance took me out, and that's something that, or a characteristic of God that people call like a fourth quarter God. But I don't believe that God is a fourth quarter God. I believe that faith is perfected. And sometimes our faith being perfected looks like God delaying movement until a certain set time. Because then and only then can we fully be made believers and can we truly give God all the credit for bringing us out. And so, that's kind of been where my mindset has been at on today, trusting God's timing, learning how to relax and trusting that, like the Bible says, when the time is right, God will make it happen. I'm going to say it again, trusting that when the timing is right, that God will make it happen. And so that is, today's daily manna. I know that this is not the usual or the long drawn out daily manna, but, I'm adamant on just, releasing what God says to release and not adding my own little feng shui to it and, not taking away from what God is saying. I believe that it's a message that all of us need to hear. I believe that everyone that God leads to watch this video to a certain degree, you may feel like, I'm suffering, like I'm having to endure some things. I'm uncomfortable. God isn't moving when I want him to move. And you may find, yourself dealing with the temptation to freak out. You may find yourself dealing with the temptation to quit. You may find yourself dealing with the temptation to just say, to hell with this, for lack of a better word. And so, when it's all said and done, faith looks like not only trusting God, but trusting that he'll do it right on time. And a lot of times right on time is not when we want it to be. A lot of times right on time is not when our past trauma says that, it's time for a certain thing to happen. And so, be patient as you're waiting on God in this season. Be grateful while you're waiting on God in this season. I feel like gratitude is one of the things that the devil really tries to keep us out of. If he can get us focused on how uncomfortable we are or how painful a situation is, guess what else he can do? He can get us to like lose sight of how blessed we really are. And that's really the beauty of life, is that when we look at our lives, we are really far more blessed than the things that we stress about. I'm gonna say that again. That is really like the beauty of life. We are far more far more blessed than the things we stress about. And it's like if the devil can get us to look at our life and see it from a perspective that says, I don't have this, I don't have that. Like, it doesn't take much effort for him to like win the battle, or to get us to quit prematurely, or even to self-sabotage what God is doing. And so I feel like that's just been where I've been, is just in a place where I'm like, okay, God, if I'm waiting, it means that I have no choice but to wait. Whew, that's a whole word for somebody. If you're waiting, it means that you have no choice but to wait. I'm going to say it again. If you're waiting, it means that you have no choice but to wait. And so, my mindset has been, while I wait, let me appreciate where I am. I'll say that again. While I wait, Lord, let me appreciate where I am. Let me appreciate the things that I do have. Let me appreciate the things that I do see you doing. Because my gratitude, a lot of times gratitude, your level of gratitude is the thing that determines if you make it through to the other side. And so I say all of that to say, don't you go throughout this day letting the devil make you feel like God hasn't been good to you or God hasn't been faithful to you. Because the reality of it is, all of us, and I do mean all of us, whether you hear now or on the replay, all of us are living in a place of answered prayer in one area or another. And to be for real, even in those areas where we're living in a place of answered prayer, guess what? Those were once areas where we had to wait. Those were once areas where we kind of suffered a little bit, right? It's like, I look at where I live now, but there was once a season where I did suffer in the area of living arrangements, right? There were moments where, I was homeless, where I was sleeping out of my car. You understand what I'm saying? So, it's like I've had stressful seasons living at certain apartment complexes. And so it's like, we all are living in a place of answered prayer. Appreciate where you are while you wait on God to come through. And so that is today's daily manna. I pray that this is giving you exactly what you need on today. I am about to go upstairs, go into the office, and we're about to shift over to TikTok. And so if you want to join us over on TikTok, the name is ThoughtsbyT. If this word has blessed you, can you please just tell God thank you? Can you guys just tell God thank you? To those of you guys that want to sow, the ways to sow are always in the description of every single video. What you guys sow helps this ministry run afloat. It helps us, continue to do what we do for King Jesus. And so to those of you guys that want to sow, whether you sow on a seed of honor, sowing into this word, thank you. What I want to say is also, we still have the June raffle going on. It is $5 per entry. And on June 30th, I plan to bless one person with $100 Visa gift card. And so if you want to buy multiple entries, just send, your $5 or your $10 for 2 entries, or $15 for 3 entries. And you just, put the word raffle along with your TikTok name or your name on here, so that I know if you win, how to contact you. And so that is it, y'all. I love y'all. I am rooting for you guys. Please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. I will see you guys in a minute over on YouTube. All right. Over on TikTok. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all later.